Welcome to the D6 Family Ministry Podcast, a place where ideas, principles, and personalities come together to give you a ministry advantage that empowers the church and home.
I don't know anything more important in our society or in the kingdom of God than to help the church, help the family.
Discipleship is not an event, it's a way of life.
And one day it just hit me that discipleship at home was not about doing more. It was about inviting Christ into what we were already doing.
The goal of family ministry is not families sitting on the couch holding hands and singing Kumbaya. The ultimate goal is families that love God, love people, and make disciples of all peoples.
So that's why you're here. You're here to say 1 hour a week, as significant and as awesome as it is, we know that it's not enough, and we want to be intentional with every hour.
You're listening to the D6 Podcast. Here are your hosts, Marianne Howard, Ron Hunter, and Josh Wooten.
Today, our guest is Sandra Peoples, and Sandra has a fantastic new book out called Unexpected Blessings. And you know, it talks about the importance of the church partnering with families that have those with special needs and or unique abilities, as I like to say. And, you know, one of the things she points to is what we're known for in the church. And sometimes, you know, I won't give too much of the interview away, but the truth is all of our churches have reputations within our communities.
Right.
With those who attend, and just as importantly, with those who don't attend our church. So with that being said, Marianne, what is one thing that if I were to come to DFW and ask somebody in your community, hey, what is this church known for? What is somebody that does not attend your church? What do you think they would say your church is known for?
I think Five Stone is known for incredible community. In fact, so much so that when I've spent time with your wife and another friend who lives in Nashville, and even you've spent time with my church community, because when we've done conferences together, you've been with me and some of the people in my community, and two of them in particular, you've spent time with. And I will tell you, your wife and this other friend, mutual friend that we have said, I wish that I could be a part of your community. Because of just, that's what we're known for. It is incredible. They come around you. It's brought so much healing to Chad and I. They show up with meals. They show up with sweet tea at the door. They send you Tiff's Treats. If you don't know what Tiff's Treats is, let me tell you, it's you send a box of fresh baked chocolate chip cookies to people to say, I love you. And they just show up. And that's the thing that I think Five Stone is known for in DFW is it's a small church. It's a community church. That's actually in the title of our church. And oddly, just because a church says they're good at it doesn't necessarily mean that they live it out, if that makes sense. You and I both know that. And so that's what they're known for. You step one toenail into Five Stone, into the foyer of Five Stone. And I'm going to tell you, you are going to be surrounded, cared for, and loved. And, you know, it's so interesting, Josh, because even the two mutual people that you know that I do community with, they check on you and Lena. They ask how you're doing. They pray for you. We live in Dallas. They've spent a week with you and they already care for you. And so that's what our church is known for. I'd love to know, what is your church known for in the community?
All right. I want to shout out my boys, Steven Savage and Jackie Haba. Love you guys. Feel free to send Tiff's Treats. I'm going to have to find it in the DFW area and get your address and send you some as well. Love those people.
Yes.
I believe our church at Northfield, we are known for serving our community. That is one thing. We often have people will just show up at our door throughout the week and say, I heard you're the church that helps people. Oh. You know, we have a fully functioning dentist area in our church with 3 chairs, X-ray machines, and we do free dental care. We have job training. We have a food pantry that we go out and deliver hot meals, set up and go into the neighborhoods. We don't, we are more go and be than come and see. We try to be. And so I believe we are a church known for caring for our community, as well as, like you said, finding community. You're not going to make it from
No.
pulling on our parking lot to finding your seat without probably 4 people telling you good morning and trying to find out about what's going on in your world. Like,
Love it.
if you're an introvert, it's going to probably freak you out just a little bit. And I've learned and try to recognize my introvert friends when they come into church, because I can realize I can be a lot, but we want to make sure that people feel seen. So that's probably what we're known for.
Love that.
But I love what Sandra shares in this about the importance of people from the outside see in our church, especially from our front door, which a lot of times is our website or our social media pages. People will go and look there before they ever pull onto your campus or step foot into your church. So with that being said, I want you to lean in and take some notes, because Sandra's got some great practical things that you can do to make sure that everybody, no matter where they are in life, what their abilities are, feels seen and loved and has a place in your church, because I believe that's what we all want for our churches. So that being said, look forward to discussing this on the backside. But Sandra, we're thankful for you. Enjoy the listen.
Introducing D6 Everyday Foundations, strengthening the building blocks of faith. We are thrilled to announce the launch of D6 Everyday Foundations, a groundbreaking curriculum designed to empower churches and families in their journey of faith. This innovative program aims to align the church and home, fostering a strong foundation and unshakable confidence in God's Word. D6 Everyday Foundations boasts a comprehensive 3-year scope, focusing on major themes and characters from the Bible while also addressing pertinent cultural issues. With this curriculum, we aim to equip individuals of all ages to stand firm in their faith and navigate the challenges of our ever-changing world. At the heart of D6 Everyday Foundations is a church and home partnership, recognizing the vital role both play in nurturing and cultivating a vibrant faith. Through this collaboration, families will be empowered to prioritize and emphasize God's Word in their daily lives. Together, let's lay the foundation for a generation grounded in truth and empowered to impact the world around them. Let's hold the building blocks of faith firmly in place. To order D6 Everyday Foundations and embark on this exciting journey of faith, visit d6family.com today.
We are joined today by Miss Sandra Peoples. Sandra has an MDiv and is a PhD student, which is awesome. She is the Disability Ministry Consultant for the Southern Baptists of Texas Convention and the author of Unexpected Blessings, The Joys and Possibilities of Life in a Special Needs Family. She and her family live outside of Houston, Texas, and I'm thrilled to have this conversation with you today, Sandra. Thanks for being here.
I'm excited to be here. You got through all that with no tongue twisting.
Well,
That's
there's
impressive.
practice. There's practice in that. So here at the conference, you are talking about and addressing in your breakout what every children's minister needs to know about welcoming students with disabilities. Can you kind of give us a snapshot of what some of those things are?
Sure, I'd love to. What's really interesting about this topic is that a few years ago, Lifeway Research did a poll, and they asked pastors, is your church welcoming of people with disabilities? And 99% of pastors said yes. But because I'm a special needs mom, my community of other special needs moms were like, well, we know that not 99% of churches can handle our families if we come on a Sunday. And so there was this real disconnect between what pastors thought was true about their churches and then what families experienced. And so in my session, I really hope to kind of bridge that gap and to teach children's pastors to say, hey, we know your heart is in the right place. You just need some skills to come alongside to help you and to realize you've already got kids with disabilities in your ministry, how to help them better, and then how to attract even more. And so just a real quick overview, what I'm talking about is really educating the self on what common disabilities they may have already in their ministries, empowering their volunteers so their volunteers don't feel overwhelmed, and then reaching out to the community and really shining a light in the community so that other families impacted by disability know that their church is a place where their kids will be loved and served, and so that they can hear the gospel.
So we just moved to the city that we live in now just a little over a year ago, and it's kind of been one of those, how do you feel about, with our kids' friends, parents, like, what about this doctor? Or what about that dentist or this basketball program? And when something is good, you hear about it.
Yeah.
And I love that you're saying, like, you need to be that church. Is that right? Like,
For sure.
It's kind of word of mouth? Does that happen in that community?
Yeah, and for sure in the disability community, we've got Facebook groups, we see each other in waiting rooms, at therapy places. So I kind of tell the special needs families that attend our church, I say, you guys are missionaries, right? Like, this is your mission field. The waiting room is a mission field, and we want to be a church that you can share about with everybody you meet so that they know that their families would be welcome with us.
I love that. And, disabilities, they come in all shapes and sizes. And as ministry leaders, we can often kind of either put them in a box or assume that all children, all shapes and sizes, disabilities and abilities will be able to do what everybody else can do, right? And the truth is that disability or not, that's not accurate. And not just for kids, I might say.
Yeah.
I think sometimes that's a topic we leave out, is that disabilities are with adults too. We need to figure out some of those things as well. But we want to be effective in interacting with children in particular in the church, right? So how can we then ensure that our classes and our ministries are a welcoming place for all to learn and grow? What are some of those things?
Well, I can tell you some of the things that we look for as a special needs family. One thing is on the website, our church's website. Does it communicate that a family like ours would be welcome? And so that includes, what do the pictures look like? What is the registration form? If we're talking specifically kids ministry, is there a place on that registration form where I can say if my child has a disability or a learning disability or a mental health issue or a behavioral diagnosis? We even, on our form at our church, we categorize all of that even with allergies, because we want to say we want the full picture on your family so that we can be ready to welcome you. And so you just think about walking into a church. We can't do that without calling ahead, my family, because of the needs that we have. And so we're looking at the website and even kind of calling ahead and emailing and saying, hey, what do you have in place? What does it look like? If my family were to come to your church, what would that look like? Where do we go? What does that, because we need to decrease the social anxiety that my kiddo feels when we go somewhere, and the mom anxiety that I have when we're going somewhere new. And so just kind of looking at the experience from a first-time visitor to say, when we pull up to the church, do we know where to park and where to go? The website, all of that communicates even before you meet the family that I would be welcome at your church with my kid with me.
So let's talk specifics about that if you can. What do you want to see in the picture? What do you want? Is this a drop down on that sign up thing? Like, we have these things, or is there a way that we can ask that question that doesn't make you feel like, I don't know, targeted? I don't know a better word there, but
that's great.
Tell me specifically, what are you looking at? Mainly, we just launched our new website. Our church did. And I know for sure we don't have those things. So now how can I go back and say, we want to make sure this is a welcoming place and that's communicated even with what we're presenting? Give me some specifics.
Well, visually, what we're looking for, there's some visual cues even for invisible disabilities. So if there's kids with disabilities in the picture, then we say, oh, that's a place that's going to welcome us. But also, if we see a kid with noise-reducing headphones. So my son wears noise-reducing headphones because sensory-wise, it can be really overwhelming to him. So if I see in a picture a kid with noise-reducing headphones or a fidget, like something they play with, a little pop-it thing, that helps them focus. And I say, oh, they've already got some of the knowledge and things in place so that we would feel comfortable. What we do in the lobby of our church, we have like a coat rack, and we have bags that we hang that have sensory items in it and noise-reducing headphones right there. And we have a little tag that says, if you're feeling fidgety or if sensory-wise you're getting overwhelmed, grab a bag on the way in. And so even when a family just walks into the lobby, they see that indication that, hey, this church gets it, right? Like there's some tools here. And then on the website, like on the form that we were talking about, we really like to group things together, allergies, special needs. Sometimes special needs families can feel like if I put anything in this blank, they won't accept us. And so that's why putting it allergies, learning disabilities, special needs, behavioral diagnosis, kind of grouping all of those together kind of communicates to the parent, oh, they expect me to put something here, and I'm not going to scare them if I do put something here. And then for us, that can trigger a second form that they open, and so it's additional questions that are specific to our disability ministry, so they can fill all of that out, and it's more about how does the child communicate? What are their triggers? What overwhelms them? What do they enjoy? So they can fill that form out, or even if they don't have time to do that, even putting anything in that blank helps me know to follow up, or our children's minister to follow up to say, hey, we really need to talk to this family more. And like something like VBS, where you don't know how many kids from the community are coming, that's really important on that online registration form, to have something there so that a family communicates with you ahead of time that their kid may have anxiety or ADHD or autism, anything that they could have, so that you can plan ahead better and be able to meet that kid's needs.
It sounds like a win-win. It sounds like a win for the ministry who's going to be accepting that kid and preparing in advance, but also to tell the parent, like, we care enough that we want to know about your child to be able to prepare for them. Am I correct in that?
For sure. And one thing about disability ministry, it's not just about the child with a disability, right? It's about the whole family. I'm caring for the whole family. And I grew up with a sister with Down syndrome, and so I tell people, if our church didn't accept her, I wouldn't have been able to attend that church. I mean, so having a church that welcomes the child with a disability makes a difference for that whole family, for the parents, for the siblings, everybody. And so any way that we can communicate love, acceptance, just kind of a team attitude to say, hey, we're going to figure this out together. I mean, like, parents just kind of exhale when they see that and they hear that, because they think this is a place that gets it. And even if they don't do everything perfectly, no church is going to do everything exactly right for every family. But a family knows, hey, we're in this together. We're going to figure it out together. And my child is going to be safe and loved while they're in this space.
This is good stuff. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Attention all parents and teenagers. Do you want to strengthen your relationship and deepen your connection with each other? Dr. Richard Ross and Dr. Gus Reyes have created an online app that can help you do just that. Download 30 Days Parents and Teens today. By dedicating just 10 minutes a day for 30 days, you can experience a transformational journey with your teenager that will bring you closer than ever before. You'll learn practical skills and strategies for communicating effectively, resolving conflicts, and understanding each other's perspectives. By connecting your hearts and minds during this 30-day experience, you'll build a stronger and more loving relationship that will last a lifetime. Don't miss out on this incredible opportunity to strengthen your bond with your teenager. The 30 Days Parents and Teens app is available in both English and Spanish. Download today and start your journey towards deeper connection and understanding.
And we are back with Sandra Peoples talking about ministering and welcoming students with disabilities. So how about those little kids that might need a little bit of extra support or help? How can the church identify the need? Maybe they haven't filled out that form, right? Maybe the parents weren't aware that was a thing, or maybe they just get dropped off and we're in the middle of a class and recognizing this little person might need a little extra, right? Like, how can we best support them and aim for success, I guess?
Yeah, that's a great question, because people come to our churches in different ways. They are dropping off. They aren't always filling out forms, or even on a Sunday morning, the form you give them is way longer than they have time to fill out as they're there. And so as teachers, sometimes we say, oh, this kiddo is really struggling, and not all of our teachers know how to help one of those kiddos. And so one of the things that we do at our church, we have buddies. And so they are either teenagers or adults who are in the classroom, and they're on the lookout for any kid who's showing signs of anxiety or or sensory issues or anything that's going on. And so they carry the bags that I mentioned that we have in our lobby. Our buddies carry those bags, and they are full of fidgets and like a visual schedule. So kids who have anxiety about time and they don't know what's coming next and they have a hard time transitioning, we have a schedule in there that they can look at so they see what's coming. And so the buddies are trained also on just behavior support. How do I help this kid who can't come join everybody else for circle time? How do I motivate them to be more comfortable in this space so they at least come a little closer and can get the gospel? And so we empower those buddies to be there. You can either have a one-on-one buddy if you know there's a student who is going to consistently be there who needs a one-on-one buddy. We have some one-on-one buddies, but we also have like a floating buddy in different classrooms, and they're just on the lookout for anybody who might need help. And we do that in VBS too. Like that's when you just don't know who's coming, those floater buddies are especially helpful.
So you said something about training. Is there something specific that you take them through, or does your church have their own programming for that, or what's that look like?
Yeah, I do the training at our church. Since I work for the Southern Baptist of Texas Convention, I have a video, and it has 6 parts. In this video, it sets a theological foundation for what it looks like to be a buddy, because I say we have this example in Scripture of Moses and Aaron, and so God calls Moses to go speak for him, and Moses says, I can't because I'm slow of speech, and then God says, okay, well, Aaron, your brother, will come alongside you. And so I tell buddies, you're an Aaron, right? And so this kiddo, there's a plan and a purpose for him, and he has gifts to use in your church, just like Moses had. He just needs a little extra help. And so you're going to come alongside him like Aaron did. And I like to tell our buddies, sometimes you're the Moses who needs help, and somebody comes alongside you. So the training includes talking about that theology and then doing some behavior basics on what that would look like, and if a kid's having a hard time, what do we do, sensory breaks and where to go and what those tools would be. So all of that is included in their training.
Is that accessible to anyone and everyone? Or
yeah, it's on my website. I have a video that our people use, and then I follow up with them. So it's on my website, which is sandrapeoples.com, and you can just type in the search bar buddy video and it'll come up, and you can either use that video with your helpers or you can watch it and then take those. There's also the PowerPoint slides that go along with it and adapt that for your church context. And but it's 6 parts, and it's about an hour and 10 minutes long, and so you can adapt it for the needs that you have at your church.
Cool. So what kind of infrastructure should all ministries have in place? And again, not just for kids, but adults too, for anyone with special needs or a learning disability, even a mental health diagnosis. Is there a certain infrastructure that we need to have in place?
Yeah, I think that's a good question, because children's ministers, if they're new to this, they have fears, right? Like they say, I don't have time or space or money. I mean, most children's ministers are lacking those things. And so when you think about welcoming students with disabilities, you think they're going to take more time and more money and more people, and I don't have any of that. And so what I like to tell them is it's just a matter of communicating the gospel with each kiddo that walks in. You don't have to be prepared for every possible disability that exists or anything that does walk through your doors. You just have to be ready to welcome those who do. So that really is the goal of just welcoming those students, making them feel loved. Like our students with disabilities, they know the difference between being loved and just tolerated, right? And we don't want to communicate that they're just tolerated. We want to say, no, you're celebrated here. You're a vital part of this. And then also we're concerned about their safety. That's a real issue. And so most of our churches, the insurance policies that cover all the other kids are going to cover our kids with disabilities too, and so you don't have to make any changes at that level. But you may want to review your safety protocols. You may want to say, hey, how many doors, if a kiddo is in the classroom and he's trying to get out, how many doors does he have to get through, or how many people does he have to run by? And then you can kind of reverse engineer that and say, okay, I need to warn all these people to say, if you see a kiddo running out toward the parking lot, you can act. And so some of that is just looking at it through a new lens, thinking about what a kid who struggles or is trying to communicate with his behavior, because maybe he can't communicate verbally, what would that look like in our church setting, and how can I solve the issues that I see? And of course, you can always ask parents, you can ask adults with disabilities what helps them feel most comfortable. They're always willing, because they want their child to feel comfortable in your setting, and so they'll give you lots of helpful advice to just make it successful for the ministry leaders and the family.
I love the fact that you said that you want every child who's there to be able to hear the gospel. And that's the point of all of this, right?
Yeah.
We want them to be in a safe place where they can hear and understand the gospel the best. And so I love that. Thank you, Sandra, so much for being with me today. It was such a great conversation.
Thank you.
Well, Josh, several things stood out in this podcast interview, and I'm so thankful. And a couple things that I'd love to bring out for us to discuss. Number one, she said, when something is good, you hear about it.
That's exactly right.
That's such a soundbite. When something is good, you hear about it. So let's just be a part of church faith communities that people hear about. That's the kind of, you want people whispering about your church in a good way.
Exactly right. And she said, we all want to say we are welcoming to families, to those who may have abilities, but if they show up at church, are you truly ready to minister to them? And what we have done, as far as our church goes, we have realized that we can't reinvent the wheel. And there are a lot of organizations within our community that we have merely just opened our doors and giving them a space for this community of people. At Northfield, we have with the Special Needs Sports Foundation, and that community is come into play. Basketball at our church, they play bingo on Thursday nights. There's another organization that helps families with those that have Down syndrome, and we have partnered. They're called Gigi's Playhouse, and they just wanted some classroom space. And we found out a lot of these organizations and these families they show up for the Sports Foundation nights, they show up for Gigi's night, they show up for bingo night, and we realize, okay, we've not done a lot rather than open our doors and help to give support, but we are being known for the church to reach out, and has helped us understand what they really need. And it is on an individual basis, a lot of times. But we are being recognized as a community that opens its doors to those with special needs, because we do things like Night to Shine and those things. And a lot of this is just partnering with other groups that already exist.
I love that. One practical takeaway that I took that I thought was just really neat, and I want to take it back to my church because I thought it was intentional and creative, and I hadn't considered it. But when she talked about the hat rack, and she says in their lobby of their church, they have a coat rack, a hat rack, standing in the middle of their lobby, and they've got sensory bags and headphones and different tools to meet different needs for different families. And that just communicates so much just right when you walk into the foyer of the church. And I loved that. That was different. That was different for me. I was like, that is brilliant.
One of the best investments we made, we bought about 6 pairs of those noise reducing headphones for kids, because in our large group experience, it was freaking those kids out. And we have a little sensory room off to the side, but we found that with those noise headphones, and it was just merely asking a parent. When one parent came in and had them, we're like, what are those? And she told us about them. We're like, we need to order some of those on our own. But I think another thing that she pointed out is the pictures on our website, because we want those families, because they do feel, we can say it all day long, but when they see kids that look like theirs, kids that have the same challenges or situations that they do, that they see themselves in our community when they look from the outside. And I think that's a very powerful tool that I took the note, share with our communications director. Hey, we need to make sure as we're rebuilding our website right now that we are putting that out there. And we may be, but it's a lot of the little things that we can learn from each other.
Absolutely.
That really helps us.
Thank you so much, Sandra. You brought such insight to our world as leaders, and you challenged us too, because I will say towards the end of the interview, when you said, is your church, do you tolerate or do you celebrate? I think that's the soundbite also from this interview is, evaluate that, leader. Are you tolerating or are you celebrating? Evaluate where you are as a church, and are you being mindful of your faith community and other families and the challenges that they're facing? I'm excited about our guest next week, Dr. Chris Shirley. He has been a regular on the D6 podcast. family ministry and the church. And we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of discipleship and family discipleship. So you are most definitely going to want to join us next week. Until then, we are praying for you. We pray you have an incredible week and that you would be challenged in various ways as you consider your church environment. And what are you known for as a church? What are the strengths of what you're known for as a faith community? And maybe what are some areas of growth? Hope you have a great week.
You've been listening to the D6 Podcast. You can learn more about D6 at d6family.com.